Well, that is a very, very important question. It's a theological question, and I'm a biologist, but I do think it's important for us, and that's why I've done this, Creation and Fall by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and so I think it's important to bring theology and biology together to some extent in talking about this. So just keep in mind, as I address this question, as to the fact that I'm a biologist and not a theologian. So from my perspective, first of all, sin, as I see it, is a disruption of our relationship with God. It's a sin against God. It's a disruption of that relationship, that bond between God and us. And so when we purposely put ourselves in the place of God, which is what this Adam and Eve story is about. Eve says, "I want to be like." She's tempted to be like God. Then when we do that, then that is sin. So I don't know how we define sin in the time before God had, in the time before Adam and Eve. Now let me just say something about Adam and Eve at this point. There are a number of people that believe that Adam and Eve had to be real people, that the understanding of Scripture is that Adam and Eve had to be real people, that there had to be a real fall in a real garden. And I would like to say that is that there are many biblical scholars, a number of them now, that have written about this, and that this is in a way that is compatible with science. There could well have been two individuals, Adam and Eve, who were singled out in some fashion to enter into a relationship with God, and the beginning of our special spiritual relationship with God that's described in the Bible started with two real individuals. And there's a lot of people that think that way, and that's not, if we think in terms of two individuals singled out by God, not to say there wasn't anybody else around, but two individuals that were singled out by God in some fashion, that's not inconsistent with science. There's other people who think that Adam and Eve are figurative individuals, and that sin is something which arose gradually as we as a species became less and less interested. It's something that arose gradually. Let's leave it at that. And so I just want to acknowledge in this that there are two ways of thinking about this. So I don't see that this is inconsistent. This is not inconsistent, as I see it, with a real fall, with sin entering at a real moment in time as a result of the first couple entering into sin. If that is important to your theological tradition, and then science is silent on that issue. It's a theological issue, not a biological issue. But again, I have many friends who think that sin is something that emerged over a period of time, and we became more and more capable of sinning as we became more and more conscious as time went by. Tough question, and that's my summary of biology.
I have another question that maybe should have come slightly before, because it's sort of dealing with the other sort of issue about humanness. So there's two related questions here. The Christian assumption is that humans are eternal beings and have a soul. How is this consistent with the grand evolutionary perspective? And a related question, as the Homo genus gradually moved toward humanness, at what point do you suppose we became living spirits capable of a meaningful relationship with God and able to possess eternal life? And I guess the idea maybe that sin enters later in this on this view, but this is about when did humans become able to have a meaningful relationship with God and have a quote soul?
Yeah, so again, an issue that is a theological and philosophical more than it is biological, but it has a biological component, and for sure that people like myself think about this regularly. Most of the people that I know who are biologists, and most of the theologians I interact with, do not think in terms of the soul as being something which is ephemeral that comes in some non-physical fashion. I think the soul is part of who we are as physical beings. I hold that position myself. So that it's not like there's this kind of that there's two different parts to who I am. That which is ephemeral and flies loose, and our physical being. And to me, there's N.T. Wright writes about this. He's just one great example. But To me, for example, when I think in terms of what it means to proceed into heaven, I think N.T. Wright has been so helpful to me on this. I think in terms of the resurrected body of Jesus, and that we will have a resurrected body of Jesus, and it will be a whole. It's not like it's going to be some sort of mysterious spirit, but it'll be our body resurrected in some fashion, in a way that is analogous to Jesus and his resurrection. The resurrection is central to who it is central to who we will be throughout eternity. And so a whole bunch of people write a lot about this and can do so in ways that are much more sophisticated than I can. But I can summarize it and say, most of the scholars today that I'm aware of, that I follow, would not separate the soul and the son, and they would say that it's come into Christianity, not from the Bible, but from Plato, and from taking Plato far too seriously in earlier days of Christianity. But if you go back and really analyze how Paul thought about it, it was different than what we have been thinking about it when we thought of the two totally different natures.
So I think this may be the last question I'm going to read here for you.
I just want to say, those are two great questions. I appreciate them. And
they rose to the top.
Yeah.
This one was obviously written by someone who has read the book, I think, because it has to do with the idea that both you and Dr. Wood believe the other is harming the church. So do you think salvation is dependent on the belief of your position? Is that what you mean by harming the church? Is salvation dependent upon the belief of your position?
Well, that's a great question. You're going to hear from Todd now. That's a great question, actually, at the transition time. My goodness. When you meet Todd, as you will in just a minute, you're going to find out that this is a person who is a wonderful example of what it means to be a Christian. And so how can I possibly say something like in some way his position is the antithesis of Christianity? I think it's harmful. Todd and I talked very frankly about that because I think it's quite a ways away from the scientific truth. But boy, from the perspective of what it means to walk with Jesus, from the perspective of what it means to live out the Christian life, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce the person that I think I will think about that.
All right, let's thank Dr. Falk once again.